Relapse is not a failure, but an opportunity for growth. I know even saying the word relapse triggers feelings of shame and disappointment. But what if I told you that relapse doesn't have to be something that is shame-filled and derails your recovery efforts? What if it could actually be a powerful growth tool instead? Hey, everybody, welcome to the Addiction Unlimited podcast, where you get to learn everything you want to know about addiction and recovery. I'm your host, Angela Pugh, co-founder of Kansas City Recovery, life coach, and recovering alcoholic. To learn more about me, you can listen to episode 0 on your podcast app or find us on the web at addictionunlimited.com. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. I'm your coach, Angela Pugh, and today we're diving into a topic that is so misunderstood, and that's relapse. So many people internalize a relapse as a failure, but today I want to offer you a new perspective that you've probably never considered. Relapse as feedback, not failure. If you've listened to my pod for any length of time, you've probably heard me say this a million times. Relapse is feedback. It's telling you that your recovery plan isn't quite right yet. And that's okay. I'm going to break down how you can turn this sad event into an opportunity to rebuild, refocus, and re-energize your sobriety journey. First and foremost, let's start with our mindset. You probably could have guessed I was going to start with mindset because every single thing you do in your entire life starts as a thought in your mind. So your mindset and your thoughts are the key to mastering everything in life, right? If you relapse, it doesn't mean you've lost everything. It simply means your recovery plan needs adjusting. Think about it like this. If you were driving your car every day and it was pulling to the right all the time, pulling you to the right, eventually you're going to fix it, right? You're going to go to the tire place and get an alignment. You don't feel embarrassed that your car is pulling to the right or feel ashamed about it. You figure out the solution and you fix it. The same logic applies to your recovery plan. So ask yourself, what is this relapse trying to tell me? Maybe your routine needs tightening up, or you're not addressing the emotional and social triggers in your life. Perhaps you're avoiding some key points of recovery, like having accountability and a support group or system. Maybe you're hiding from your drinking problem, keeping it a secret because you don't want anyone to know. This is your opportunity to assess what you're doing, where things went off course, and make changes. And I'll share a story with you from one of my clients, Sarah. Sarah had been sober for almost 4 months and she was feeling strong. She was feeling really good. But when she had to attend a family function, she relapsed and she was devastated. So we got on a call super early the next morning because that's what we do when we work together. We hash things out ASAP and get solutions to get right back on track, stronger than ever. And once we were talking it through, she realized that she was consumed with fear before the event. Fear of what her family would think, fear of being uncomfortable because of the fear of what they would think. Her relapse wasn't because she was weak or there was something wrong with her or that she'll never be able to stay sober. It happened because she didn't have key elements in place to deal with the fear and anxiety of the family event. Now, here's the kicker. We had talked through a thorough plan before she had to go to the party with her family. She had a few key actions she was supposed to take, a few things to put in place to extinguish the fears and manage the anxiety. But just like you and me, she got busy with life and kids and work, and she didn't take those actions and put the pieces in place. She kept saying, I'll do that tomorrow. I know I have to make sure I sit down and do this. I've got to do this later. And later never came. And that's exactly the type of situation that alcoholism thrives on. Avoidance, procrastination, not following through, all of that is a dream for alcoholism because it knows it can overpower you if you're doing those things. I'll tell you this too. That was the last time Sarah ever put things off for her recovery, right? It was a great learning lesson for her of how important the solutions are and how important it is that you make it a priority and follow through so you can stay sober and feel proud of yourself. From that point forward, she understood what actions to take, what elements to put in place, and she never hesitated again. And she just celebrated 3 years sober last month, crushing it. So when you relapse, you have to figure out where are the gaps in your recovery plan. Look at your plan holistically. That means as a whole. If you don't have a plan, then we have a real problem, right? You have to have some kind of a plan. And if you don't have a plan, stick around to the end. I'll give you a link to get my free recovery roadmap workbook. It's a great outline to get you started as to how to view your recovery and what key elements you need to have in place from day one. And if you want to get personalized plan of action, look at your life routines, lifestyle in depth, and get real-time guidance with me, then you can schedule a call with me to see if we're a good fit to work together. But that's the option if you're really done effing around and ready to get your life together and ready to laugh a lot, because we do laugh a lot. And I'll link that in the show notes as usual, addictionunlimited.com/call. Anyway, look at your plan. What are the weak spots? Are you really putting in the maximum effort, or are you looking at sobriety as an afterthought or treating it like it's on the back burner behind everything else in your life? Are you letting fear hold you back from doing things you know would help you? And be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself about this stuff. Are you avoiding meetings because you don't want people to know you have a drinking problem? Or maybe you think you're so high functioning that you don't need the same kind of help as those people, right? This is where the honesty part comes into play, because all of those things I just listed are ego issues. What will people think of me? How will this make me look? That's all ego stuff. If you don't want to admit you're an alcoholic or you're too cool to join a support group, whatever the case, you have to be able to identify the gaps honestly. If you can't get honest even with yourself, then you can't start living in the solution. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's okay to not feel super proud of yourself for having a drinking problem, especially at the beginning, because you don't have enough information to really understand it's not your fault. And again, this is where support is so important, because you can't use your broken thinking to fix your broken thinking. You see what I'm saying? It sounds silly when I say it, but that's the truth. You have to have outside people that have a little more experience than you, that are farther down the road, so they understand the part of the road you're on, so they can support you and guide you getting through it. Don't let that ego stuff keep you stuck, because it will. And it's one of the main things that will feed the alcoholism and allow it to get stronger. And that's the last thing we want to do. The next major player that will hold you back is shame. You feel so much shame when you relapsed, ashamed of yourself, embarrassed. But I think that shame comes from a different place than most people think it comes from. There's no shame in drinking. I'm an alcoholic. Drinking is what I do. There's no shame in having a symptom of the disease you have. I believe the shame feeling comes because deep down, you know you aren't putting in maximum effort. Cutting corners, looking for the easier, softer way that won't inconvenience your life too much, or avoiding doing things you know would be good for you. That's when I always feel the worst, when I know I could have done more and I fucked something up because I didn't do the things I knew I needed to do, because I was procrastinating or avoiding, or maybe I just didn't care. Who knows? Intrinsically, I'm a very lazy human. So sometimes I F things up just because I'm too lazy to do the right thing, right? That's what's embarrassing to me. But here's the thing, this is all fixable. Use your relapse as a wake-up call. What are you not doing that you could be doing? Is it attending meetings or journaling or changing your routines to fit your new sober lifestyle or having a real sober support system? The moment you get in the solution and take back control of your recovery, all of that shame and embarrassment start to lose their power. I had another client who relapsed after 6 months of sobriety, and her shame was paralyzing. And to be honest with you, like, she really felt like she was doing all the right things. And she wasn't wrong. This is where it can be so confusing. She really felt like she was on it and it was the priority. But as we dug a little deeper in a private coaching session, she figured out that she had stopped doing her daily routines, which for her was journaling and meditation in the morning, right? Because she thought she didn't need it anymore. Well, she thought she didn't need it as much. Like, she told herself it would be okay if she didn't do it every single day. But as we dug a little deeper into that, the truth was she was tired and run down, and mornings were hard with her kids. So she cut those morning routines to free up time and energy. And this sounds perfectly logical because life is overwhelming and none of us have enough hours in a day. But this is where alcoholism is so cunning and manipulative, because really that was just the rationalization, right? She was tired and her morning routine did take a good 30 or 40 minutes of her morning. But alcoholism jumped right in and told her that the things that were keeping her healthy were the things that she should cut out of her routine. Right? Rationalizing, like, of course your kids take precedence over journaling. Of course you really do need that extra time in the morning. It's all rationalization and justification. And if you rationalize and justify your way out of healthy routines, then it's inevitable that you'll relapse. I would too. We all will. But her relapse was her wake-up call. We moved some things around, restructured her healthy activities to accommodate her schedule better. And once she was back on her recovery practices and had some new tools to manage her stress, she was stronger than ever. That's the thing I want you to take away from this episode. Relapse is not the end of your journey. It's a chance to grow. Realign your recovery plan, address the gaps, and come back stronger. And remember, every setback is a setup for a comeback. If you need a guideline to start putting your recovery plan in place, get my recovery roadmap workbook. It not only guides you through how to look at your recovery and understand what's tripping you up, but it also has my daily plan in it and a whole list of past podcast episodes to support the early days of sobriety, as well as a resource list that will motivate and support you too. And that's at addictionunlimited.com/roadmap, addictionunlimited.com/roadmap. And that will be in the show notes, as well as the link to book a free call with me to see if I'm the right coach for you. It's a few minutes, you and me. And if we're a good fit, we can get you started immediately and start making some real progress. That's addictionunlimited.com/call. Thank you for being here and spending this time with me. And remember, you are stronger than you think. Don't let relapse derail you. Use it as a learning opportunity and come back stronger than ever. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you next week.
You've reached the end of another great episode of the Addiction Unlimited podcast. Candid and honest conversation about addiction and recovery. Be sure to visit us at addictionunlimited.com to join the conversation and access show notes and links to everything we talked about. Love this episode? Please take 30 seconds to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes to help us improve and give you the information you want. Thanks for listening. See you next week.